Hello, 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 Fit Plug Radio. I am Ron Jones, your resident trainer, and I am with one of my close friends.
Hey guys, I'm Malak, and I am a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm excited to be on this call with you, Ron.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go ahead and dig into something that, people are really waiting to hear from us. Lord knows we both have different backgrounds when it comes to fitness and nutrition, but what binds us both together is the application of science. So this is going to be a very interesting podcast, I'm sure. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely. I really hope the listeners get lots of value out of today's conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, hey, let's get right on into it. Check this out. So, I'm an adamant believer that nutrition is the key to life. Everything that you want in life is going to be contingent upon what you're eating. We really are what we eat. That's not just a mindless idiom. If you're eating bad things, well, these things will eventually manifest itself on your body or even in your mind. You know what I mean? So, how you approach your food is going to reflect your overall life in general. So, I am a bodybuilder, and at different points in time of my year, different points in time of my career, my focus is a little different. Extreme, some may say, but it ultimately helps me out for what I want to get at that moment in time. You have a background as well. And right now in your current position in life, I don't want to give your backdrop, but you are definitely a mom.
Yes.
And you are definitely, married as well. So your hats responsibilities are different than mine. Very similar, but different than mine. Let me quit babbling. Tell me, what is your approach right now when it comes to fitness and nutrition? Fitness, I guess, specifically. Nutrition, I should say.
Well, right now actually is such an important time for everyone, honestly, to be focusing on their nutrition and health, especially with all the coronavirus stuff coming on. Improving our immune system is like the most important thing right now. And if you haven't been motivated to take care of your health and nutrition, right now is definitely the time. So, it's just people with strong immune systems are going to be able to fight the virus and fight the disease as much as they can. And even if they do get the virus, they'll be able to recover from it quickly. So it's more than just, looking a certain way or, it's all about how we feel and just making sure that we're protecting ourselves and protecting those around us with, proper nutrition and diet.
Man, that's absolutely. It's funny because I watch a lot of news and I try not to watch too much. If you saturate yourself, Lord knows it'll have you worried to no end, And then we oftentimes find ourselves reading different articles and BuzzFeed worthy articles that are clickbait, but primarily it's us trying to find best ways of, as you said, trying to deal with the current times. The whole world's facing a pandemic, COVID-19, and we start to click on different supplements and different ways to go about and different things we should be eating by way of different vitamins. And you're right. Ultimately here, I don't care what supplement you're taking. If you're not giving your body what it needs to fight the good fight, you're going to lose regardless.
Exactly. And a lot of times, they're talking about this vaccine that's coming out, that's just going to be a Band-Aid. It's not really going to solve any problem if you have underlying chronic disease or a compromised immune system. So we really, really need to all focus on our health and nutrition right now. And for me personally, I'm not really into the whole, I'm on this diet and I'm on that diet. Of course, there's a lot of benefits to different types of diet, whether that's the vegan diet, the keto diet. But in general, it's all about just eating whole, unprocessed foods, taking care of our sleep, our stress, just living a healthy lifestyle in general. And that's just really what's going to, give you that long-term success and really improve your immune system for the long run.
I agree with you wholeheartedly here. It's funny because, I don't care what religion or culture you subscribe to, whatever higher power you believe is the reason you're here. No matter where you're located at on Earth, the same general places, of course, inhabited areas of Earth, but the same key macronutrients are available no matter where you're at. Protein, carbohydrates, and fats. I think that's wherever your God is, whoever he is, whoever she is. That is their way of letting you know that no matter where you're at on God's green earth, you should be taking or partaking in what is there. it's funny because as we continue to live our lives and try and make our lives that much more efficient, we stray away from the original things that we need to be efficient.
Yeah. And that just goes back to like marketing and, companies just trying to make a buck out of us. But in the end of the day, if you just really, hone in on what's really important, it's just those single food items, nothing with a label, just whole nutritious food. And really that's what it boils down to. And a lot of times, you'll look at labels and they'll say all natural or organic, and they'll try to scheme you into buying something, which really, if you look at the ingredients, it's all probably a bunch of crap that you don't really need to be putting in your body. And so that's what I like to recommend people is just basically just eat stuff that don't have labels on them. Like a sweet potato does not need a label. It's just a sweet potato, and you can spice it up with different spices and change the way that you're going to cook it. But in the end of the day, it's a one ingredient item. And once we get rid of all that processed food and we get rid of like the inflammatory things, the alcohol, just the things that we all know aren't good for us, that's when, people start seeing the most results.
Absolutely. That's when we really began to flourish. That's funny you say that because my approach is oftentimes simply not trying to find a scheme type diet or a fad diet, but just simply elevating the quality of food. I tell people all the time, when I was much younger, we would have a pizza. It happened every maybe week or two, and mom brought home a pizza, and we were super excited. Pizza was expensive back in the day. A large pizza was, we're talking $25. You know what I mean? That's a lot of money. But the reason why it cost so much was the quality of the food was different. Didn't have the mechanization of our food industry. So food actually costs money. Now you can easily buy a pizza for $5. Why?
I know.
Well, because they mechanize the system. So it's cheaper to eat this, but cheaper actually equates to oftentimes inferior quality. And your body's going to have a hard time metabolizing and dealing with that. So your body's trying to flourish and do well, but in the meantime, it's trying to fight off the plastics and toxins and antibiotics that you're putting, hormones you're putting into your body. Your body's diverted, and now it's trying to focus on fighting that back and then go on to fighting off the other outside invaders, for instance, COVID-19. So you're forcing your body into a two-front war when you're feeding it junk and at the same time calling upon it to fight off other things. And then, dare I say, we got the nerves to say, I want to look a certain way on top of that. Man, that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot we're asking our bodies, isn't it?
It's definitely very stressful. And it's not, and if you really think about it, it's really not food that we're just putting in our bodies. Like if you look at these ingredients, they're all like made in labs, and, you really don't want to be bombarding your body with foreign things. And like you said, just having to deal with COVID-19, but really we're also dealing with so much stuff in general without COVID-19 even being in the picture, whether that's like, stress from our commute, from our jobs, the environmental toxins, the water that we're drinking. Like, it's kind of very pessimistic when you really think about it. And I don't want to scare people, but there's just so much that our bodies can handle. And you really want to start with the foundation of like a nutrient dense diet and just taking out all the unnecessary stuff.
There you go. Giving your body a chance to fight the good fight, these detoxes and whatnot. The body doesn't actually need an outside detoxifier or whatever you want to refer to it as. The body is very capable of detoxifying itself if you give it what it needs to do just that. These filtration organs that we have, our kidney, our liver, these are all things designed to cleanse, to detoxify the body, but you got to first give it what it needs to do the basic functions. And you're right. Elevating the quality of your food is what's going to do that. And then it's funny because now Mother Earth, if you will, is speaking to us and letting us know that if you are not prepared, then, well, what's happening now? I don't want to sound like you said a moment ago, death, doom, and destruction. But if you're not prepared or if you're not fit for this earth, it has a very good way of letting you know. And it just so happens to be that right now, the largest thing repressing the whole world's facing, I should say, is a global pandemic. So not to talk about too much death and doom here, but our approach seems to mutually be elevating the quality of our food to include our children's intake. You have two children at this point.
Yes, I have
newborn.
2 girls.
Okay. Congratulations to that. What is that like now as far as nutrition goes? in regard to you having your own personal ambition, you taking care of your husband as well as the two children? What does that look like now on a daily basis?
I mean, it's crazy, to be honest. Having two is definitely different than having just one. But I mean, I'm so happy to be able to have like this good knowledge and foundation of like, the things that are going to fuel my body. Plus with trial and error, I've gone through, and I'm in this nutrition space. So I'm really always, educating myself on like what's the best things to eat and what things that I need to be serving, what would serve my body at this point in my life. And, with postpartum, it's just, and because I'm currently also breastfeeding, it's just as much nutrient dense foods as possible because, I'm also trying to recover from labor and delivery and pregnancy. That definitely takes a toll on the female body. But I'm also, with the breastfeeding, trying to pass on those nutrients to my daughter as well. And I feel this sense of like responsibility to be able to give her the best nutrients. So I'm focusing mainly right now on lots of protein and lots of veggies, to be honest with you. I do really well with a high protein, higher fat diet. I like to get majority of my carbs from vegetables. I just do so much better that way. But yeah, it's just mainly lots of animal protein. I do really well with that. And with my workouts, I'm trying to build muscle as well. So I really need that protein. And then the veggies, self-explanatory with all the vitamins and minerals, and the fiber. It's just really good for the body in general. So that's what I'm focusing on.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It's very interesting that you take that approach towards where this hat of responsibility. You wear multiple hats of responsibilities, but this one here on behalf of you, my hat, I'm going to tip my hat off to all the females out here, especially yourself and to my wife as well. And that you guys stage the proper environment to nurture and grow life within you. The responsibility you feel to make sure that life, which is very vulnerable, is getting what it needs to flourish. And you did that for 40 weeks. That's a long time. They say 9 months. That's not 9 months. That's more like 10.
It's actually 10 and a week for me because my daughter was not trying to come. So it's around 41 weeks over here.
There it goes. So not even that, but you had to make sure you took in enough to sustain yourself, but also enough to sustain, that growing life. And then now that growing life is here, it's still very much contingent on you, to make sure that life gets what it needs, especially as you being a nursing mom. So you're also trying to, keep your milk production high enough, but at the same time, though, not, at the expense of losing your own health. So you said you've elevated your quality of food, and elevated the calories that you actually have to keep producing, milk for this life. And also making sure it's versatile enough. You refer to vegetables being your carb source. That's interesting. What do you mean by that? Breakfast wise, for instance, what does a breakfast look like for you?
For breakfast, I love doing smoothies. Now that there's two in the picture, 2 kids, it's just like you need to find as much quick recipes as you can because there's just no time. It's like go. And definitely. And I know that this phase in my life isn't going to last forever, which is what's getting me through it. But I love like quick things like smoothies, overnight oats. I love to do. Oats I do really well. It's really nice. Actually, it's a simple recipe. All you do is put some oats in like a jar or a container. You add some like, almond milk, oat milk, whatever type of milk you like. And then you just let it soak overnight, in the fridge. And when you have it in the morning, it's like nice and creamy and the oats soak up all the milk and it's really good. I'll add some like chia seeds. You can add some like protein powder in there for some protein. I love adding in like the collagen that we have. It's a really nice source of protein. I'll also add that in for the morning. But it's mainly a smoothie in the morning, honestly, because it's just, you can pack as many nutrients as you can in, one drink. You get I put in some collagen in there and then, lots of fruits, some greens and some chia seeds for the fiber. And then I'll just have that for, the morning time. But yeah, it's just lots of really good quality animal protein. And I don't really do that well with, plant-based proteins, like when it comes to like beans and legumes, just because they, bloat me kind of. And my body doesn't do that well. And, just through trial and error, I found the things that my body does really well with. And those are just the foods that I focus on. So
it's funny because you keep saying the word trial and error, the term trial and error. And I love that because I also see fitness and nutrition as trial and error. So even with the actual success of the experiment or with the failure of the experiment, something was learned. This is data, right? We collect this data about ourselves. So you're taking notes, mental notes, or even actual notes in a pad to see what made you feel a certain way or what caused you to have this adverse response. Well, the actual machine that you're going to feed this data into is your fitness career. So as you said a moment ago, you've learned what sources of carbs you do or don't appreciate, or what the response is to it, what causes the most inflammation to your body, what fuels your workout the best. So with you pumping so much and perhaps nursing straight off of the breast here, you might know what even increases production of milk. But all this is data being collected that you're feeding into your machine that is your fitness career. There's a very, very important. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to just make a point that's why you shouldn't just copy like somebody else's meal plan. Like if you look at somebody and you like the way that they look, it might not serve you in that sense, because what foods might be working for them might personally not be working for you. We're all so different. And that's why, we really have to take nutrition as an individualistic approach versus just following what somebody else is doing,
Okay. Makes a lot of sense here. So what they're feeding into their machine might not be the same outcome for your fitness machine. Super interesting. So no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're trying, whatever you're experimenting with, make sure you have a walk away from that, which I also say is going to be the same concept when it comes to the next stage of it, which is understanding not just the carb, but specifically, let's say, protein sources. I and our family, when it was just me concerned with Ron Jones's bodybuilding career, I was only concerned with certain types of protein source, but all I wore was the hat of Ron as a single person. Now that I'm married now, we're 11 years strong here. I had to entertain my wife as well because we all sit down together and we eat. 2 years into our marriage, we introduced children. So now we have a 7 and a 9-year-old. So I find myself now, though, being a little more attuned to my protein source specifically, because animal proteins are a excellent way of picking up negative things into our life, into our family that we don't need. So my protein source before was just constantly chicken. Wherever I wanted to get chicken from, I got chicken from there. But I was a grown, developed man. So I would not see the consequences immediately, at least, from having hormone-filled chicken. But with me having a 7-year-old daughter now, truthfully, I honestly believe that most of the unintentional incurred hormones that our children are seeing are coming from our animal sources.
Definitely. That's why the source.
Avoid certain types of protein. What do you find yourself looking out for?
Well, to your point, I mean, that's definitely why the source matters a lot, especially because, like you said, a lot of these animal proteins are pumped with hormones that, frankly speaking, we really don't need any into our bodies. And so I really make sure that we're getting the highest quality animal protein. And it is, a little bit more expensive, but I subscribe to this company by the name of ButcherBox. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they provide like grass-fed and grass-finished beef. They do pasture-raised chicken. They do the wild-caught salmon. And it's great because it just comes delivered straight to my door. It's frozen. I just pop it in the freezer, and every time we want to eat it, it's, readily available. But the source really does matter. And like you said, if you can't afford, the highest quality animal protein, I would definitely scale down or, try other sources of protein. But yeah, it's really, really important. And I really think that it's, the higher quality is definitely more humane, the way that they raise these animals. And it's really actually way better for the environment to, treat the animals this way. So that all really makes a difference. So yeah,
absolutely.
I totally agree.
That's the whole mechanizing of our food industry is what I think introduced this. We're now, one of the most called upon, the most demanded sources for protein is chicken and eggs. I mean, every restaurant you go to serves chicken. So Dairy Queen is leeching the chicken, plan. And so is Zaxby's or any other restaurant, McDonald's, Burger King. People who aren't even known for selling chicken are selling chicken. Burger King's supposed to sell burgers, but they're also selling chicken sandwiches. So what I'm saying is the demand for chicken is so high that trying to produce and keep up with the rate is causing the farmers to have to do what we and you both would agree are unnatural practices to keep the production up. They cannot afford to have production be low. And then one step further than that, our own government itself, not to get into conspiracy theory, but if you look into the standards for what the FDA has, what they qualify as being organic, for instance, it doesn't mean that there's no hormones there. There's just a cutoff on the allowed amount of hormones. Wait, hold on. So you're telling me that my child can take in this much hormone and be okay? I think not. I mean, if you walk around a local middle school, don't do that. It's creepy. But if you see a middle schooler, they're developing sexual characteristics much faster than they should. You're having 10-year-old girls having actual menstrual cycles. I'm seeing 13-year-old boys really growing beards. I think it's because they're inadvertently taking on hormones through the most commonly shared sources of food in our world. We don't share water supplies, do we? I mean, you're in one location, I'm in another. So we're not sharing water. The only thing we're sharing is, well, just that, our meat supply and perhaps milk, which is the same processes, if you will. We can be on here for days talking about that. So I guess once again, our consensus is that elevating the quality of your food is the best way to go.
So
Butcher's
what
box,
type
you
of
called
protein?
It, right?
Yeah, butcher box.
Okay.
What type of protein do you,
Lean upon the
gravitate
most?
towards? Yeah.
Well, the good thing is now, me trying to take on as much protein as possible because I still have my own career ambitions, and responsibilities as a bodybuilder to keep growing tons of muscle mass. So I do need abnormal amounts of protein, but I also have a family to sit down with and eat with. So, the ground I found of mutual is coming out of the ocean. Why? Well, because it's God's ocean. There are no hormones and antibiotics being poured into that water. And if they are, they're being diluted pretty fast. So my source for organic, if you will, would be out of, wild caught salmon, wild caught different types of fish, not farm raised, because farm raised is just a big aquarium. There's a farmer who controls that environment. So he's going to, of course, do what he has to do to make his yield be that much higher. But we find ourselves doing, Malak, a lot of fish coming out of the ocean. Nice. So it's just a cheaper way of doing it, in my opinion, and making sure I don't have the aquarium or what they call farm raised version of a fish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's so many different options when it comes to seafood. It's like lots of different flavors, lots of different options. So that's great.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. So I really want our listeners to know that that's definitely one of them. You mentioned earlier, that you opt for alternative milk sources. You don't use traditional dairy all the time. You said almond. Is that what you?
Yeah, we're big fans of almond milk, oat milk. There's even, like hazelnut milk. I'm not a big fan of dairy, especially when it comes to milk. And it's funny because they make it known that, dairy is the way that you're going to get your vitamin D in. And, but in all, like, it's for most people, it's pretty inflammatory for the body and, filled with hormones unless you get, some raw dairy, which is very hard to come across now
and
because it's pretty much, So we don't do too much, cow's milk. It's mainly, the almond, the oat milks.
Again, we find ourselves doing the same exact thing. We lean back towards more almond milk, because when you're going with as you said, the dairy version of it, you're inevitably going to be taking in abnormally large amounts of sexual hormone through that cow, estrogen specifically. And then, we also watch our sources of almond milk, coconut, you said hemp milk, because these are great alternatives, but they don't always offer the same benefits. So to our listeners who are out here, we both choose specific types of almond milks, or different coconuts or whatever milk it may be, but it's being fortified which means they're adding additional vitamins and minerals to it to make sure we're going to have the full benefit of milk minus the lactose sugar, which is typically what's causing that inflammation response.
Exactly.
People don't realize it, but most African Americans are actually lactose intolerant, second only to Asians. But we take in these small amounts and we don't realize it, but the whole time it's causing our body to have an inflammation response to it. We feel bloated. You're not sure why. Well, it's simple as that bowl of cereal you're having in the morning time. Those 8 ounces are sending you out the gate first thing in the morning onto a series of, digestive tract issues,
Yeah. And the thing is, the takeaway is to just really listen to your body. If your body is giving you these signals of bloat or digestive issues, we don't want to continue to force our body to do something that it doesn't really like, And I tell this to friends and clients all the time. If you're feeling crappy after a meal, that there's something in that meal that didn't serve your body and you just need to avoid it. And, sometimes people will tell me, oh, but it's so delicious and that ice cream is so good. But there are other values to food besides the way that it tastes, and a lot of times I feel like we put so much emphasis on just the taste or how a certain food is going to make you feel versus just what those nutrients are going to do, how you're going to nourish your body with that food. So I think, listening to our body is very, very important.
You're right. That makes sense. So the enjoyment of this bowl of ice cream you shouldn't have had could very well titillate your taste buds. But now for the next hour, you're stuck dealing with some bloat that really is uncomfortable. So was the 2 minutes worth the hour of bloat? And then beyond that, the inflammation response that's going to cause your body to do some pretty gnarly things. I say this all the time to my clients as well. Is the juice worth the squeeze? You know what I mean? There's definitely going to be consequence to what we're doing. So definitely weigh that out. And this is, again, me and you both speaking about what we're eating, and we're not even regarding the physical backlash by way of the appearance, the aesthetic backlash that comes from that. So what you're eating will, as you said a second ago, you can feel good after you've eaten it. I'm talking about not those 2 minutes, but the preceding hour or so. And if you continually feel good after you're eating, your body wise, it's going to eventually manifest itself on the outside. So we literally are what we're eating. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there's other factors of health to look out for besides just the way you look, because I do understand that sometimes if your weight loss goal is 50 pounds and you're really not seeing results instantly. And, nowadays everybody just wants to see results crazy, so fast. But you want to pay attention to other things like how your skin is looking, your energy, your hair, how shiny it is, or how much it's growing. And, there's other things to look out for, how well you're sleeping. It's not just the physical appearance of what you look like. And in the end of the day, you're looking at yourself every single day in the mirror. You might not notice a big difference, day in and day out, but there's other things to consider as well. So that's just my take on it.
Absolutely. So it's very interesting you said it that way though, because it's funny. Us being so submersed in fitness and nutrition for so long, we don't actually consider this a whole lot because we end up default not having typical issues like the inflamed skin issues or our hair becoming thinning or dulling or our skin not being as glowy as we want it to be. So we don't really consider that a whole lot. But you're right. Many of our clients do report to us how over time they begin to notice their hair, skin, and their nails are stronger, or they just seem to be feeling better, mentally feeling better. All this is because of changing what they're eating. So what I'm saying is we oftentimes have a latent response. So this is a $1 billion industry, right? Everyone's cashing in on it. Oil of Olay, St. Ives, Dial, everyone's talking about how they can make you feel. But these are all topical approaches. The body starts from the inside out. These proteins your body needs to flourish, these amino acids that your body needs to comprise healthy, strong skin, bone, hair, and nails. It starts from the inside, which means if you give it from the source, you initially ingest what your body needs, it's going to begin to manifest and reflect from the outward versus simply saying, hey, my skin looks or feels dull. Let me apply this topical treatment. Well, if you started internal, it would begin to flourish outward.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's really honestly, like a lot of times people try to complicate it, but it's really like going back to basics and just eating the things that, you know, God or whoever you believe in created for us to, you know, enjoy. And people think that like eating healthy or like eating a nutrient dense diet is like the most boring thing in the world. But if you think about it, I mean, there's so many spices, there's so many herbs, there's so many different techniques to be able to like, you know, create really delicious meals. And in my opinion, they're way more flavorful and more delicious than any type of processed food.
Hey, you're absolutely right. The drive-through menu only has at most, we're talking 12 items. However, a recipe, you can have 12,000 variations to it. There's so many different types of fruits and vegetables. You're right, that are out there. There's so many different types of ways to spice your food. There's so many different types of ways to even bring sodium into your food. It's so many other avenues. So you're right. The spice of life we should definitely take on. But even at that, as you begin to take on the different phytonutrients, you know, God has different types of fruits and vegetables of varying colors. These colors aren't just for visual appeal. It's reflecting of what's actually in the contents. A red skinned fruit has different phytonutrients as opposed to a green one. So and you're right.
Also with the different seasons, you know, like we have different types of foods that come out of each season. And, you know, there's a lot of people who subscribe to the thought that you should eat seasonally. And I totally like, it makes sense, you know, so during the fall and the winter, you want to do more like starchy stuff because it's usually colder and you like it's going to help you stay warm. And in the summer, you're going to do more things with hydration. So like lots of watermelon and cucumbers. And, you know, it's just a nice way to like switch up your diet intake and not feel bored, but also, you know, nourish your body properly.
So the ultimate takeaway for those last 5 minutes was you literally are what you eat. What you're taking in, the spices of life that you're taking in, that you're indulging in, is going to reflect and manifest itself on the outward appearance of who you are. You know, Malak, I think I really like the way this conversation has gone. Only because it's giving everyone a natural approach towards health and fitness, which is inclusive. As I told you earlier, the different hats and responsibilities that I wear. I am a father. I am a husband. I'm also a son. And these different things that I have cause me to want to have relationships in a special way with each person. It's all about balance. You'll never hear me tell someone, no, you can never have a glass of wine, because you know what? On Friday, when me and my wife are watching a movie Friday night, the kids have gone to sleep, we're going to enjoy a glass of wine. Life in balance, correct? If I have a birthday party coming up, I'm going to have birthday cake as well. Life in balance. Do you have a concept that you follow when it comes to life in balance as opposed to, you know, or in relation to your fitness and nutrition career?
So I really love the 80-20 rule. So like 80% of the time I'll eat lots of nutrient dense foods and, you know, nourish my body with all the things and the phytonutrients, the vitamins, the minerals that it needs. But then there's also that 20% of the time where, because I really do enjoy cooking and trying different recipes. So, you know, that 20% of the time I'm going to be experimenting with things that might not nourish my body per se, but it's going to nourish my soul. And a lot of times sometimes people just focus on the calories and the macros and, you know, the numbers, but, you know, there's more to food than just that.
That's funny because 80-20, this is pre-COVID, where it really applies the most, but 80-20 sounds a lot like Monday through Friday because 20% is only going to be that weekend, right? But on the weekend is when you begin to wear your other hats of responsibility, correct?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm not saying like go crazy with it either. You know, like if I'm craving a burger, I'm going to make a burger, but I'll make it with the grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I'm going to elevate the ingredients that are included in that burger and not just, you know, go to the drive-through McDonald's and get a burger, you know? So there's ways to like enjoy the foods that you love and enjoy that 20%, but really elevate the quality of your ingredients like we were speaking about before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my son and my daughter, they have a birthday party, let's say, to attend on Saturday. I have to be dad and I want to be dad. It's fun being dad, and dad has ice cream and cake. Dad has room for that ice cream and cake because dad was doing, as you said earlier, the correct thing 80% of the time as it was. So this is actually going to nourish my soul because my kids say, hey, dad's fun. having this cake and ice cream was fun. I am helping my relationship with them because that's very, very valuable. My wife says, hey, let's have a glass of wine tonight. Cool. It is what it is. We'll have a glass of wine tonight. Lord knows we've done right all week. But this is also, as you said earlier, nourishing my soul. It is enriching the relationship that I have with my wife, partaking and sharing this time together, breaking bread with one another.
Exactly. Because health isn't just about the food that you eat. It's, it's your mental health. It's your relationships. It's your stress management. It's the thoughts that you're thinking about on the daily basis. It all encompasses health. And you don't want to put too much focus on one part of your health because then the other parts are going to suffer. And then really that's not going to be health in general, So it's more than just eating the chicken and broccoli and doing cardio every day.
Absolutely. So I guess many people, let's talk about America specifically here. They were focusing on just one part of their world. They were focusing on just the social relationship side of things. So they found themselves always out and about at the restaurants, eating fast food or up late at night, hanging out in bars and clubs and not focusing on their actual physical well-being, is the reciprocal to the equation we gave a moment ago. So on the opposite side of things, well, what happened is they began to have too much focus in one area of their world, not finding that balance in their life. It's funny because balance is an age-old concept, an age-old conundrum. The ancient Asians have, or in Asian history, they have this, I believe it was rooted in Asia. They have a yin and a yang symbol, and this yin and the yang symbol is balance. It's equal parts. And that's what I believe, we are as humans. We're all trying to find balance. That black and white was a simplistic version of it. Lord knows there's many more parts to our world. It's not simple as 1 and 2. There's multiple parts to this pie that we must, a pie chart that we must balance out. But nonetheless, we must find balance. The age-old conundrum of man is trying to find balance in life. And he who finds the most balance is who will be happiest.
That's so true. And the thing is, life isn't just, super linear. It's like there's different seasons to life. So like right now I'm dealing with, a new baby and, just a lot of changes in my body because of pregnancy and labor and delivery and all that and breastfeeding. So, my health and nutrition and the way that I balance out my life is going to look different than versus when I had just one child or versus when I was back in college and didn't have any responsibilities, so, but it all just comes down to the basics of eating a nutrient-dense diet, taking care of our stress, getting that hydration in, getting recovery, moving our body on a daily basis. And, it doesn't always have to be perfect, but in the end of the day, if you could do something towards improving your health every single day, you're going to be in a really good position. And a lot of times, the diseases that we're seeing in America specifically are chronic diseases, which are totally prevented by diet and lifestyle. And, a lot of times we undermine a diet and think that it's, it's just something that certain people do, like yogis or bodybuilders or whatever. But in general, we all need to be focusing on our diet one way or the other.
Absolutely. I like you said that about the seasons. That's really cool because I think oftentimes, in a lot of modern societies, our current one now in the internet age with all the social networks is females don't get enough credit for what they're actually doing. Life is in seasons. And for a moment in time, for 10 months, you were facilitating life and it caused you to prioritize, just that, the creation of life, which means you're not going to have that centerfold model look that you may have once had or want to have. But for that season, your focus was facilitating life. And then now in the postpartum point, it is nurturing that life. Credit is to be given. And I want all the female listeners to understand that credit is to be given, not just in the physical appearance, but in what is being done when it comes to your whole mind, body, and soul in regards to fitness and nutrition. So it's not going to always reflect itself in looking like a centerfold model or some hot bikini Instagram model. By no means. You can quantify your health and fitness by way of what your priority is in that season and how well it's being done. If you are nourishing and bringing a child to life, that is awesome. If you are nursing that child and keeping that child rich of life, this is a successful health and fitness career at this point in time, because that was your intended goal or your focus for that season. Definitely want these guys to make sure they watch that.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. The thing is, like, a lot of times, especially I want to speak to all the female listeners or like moms in general, you know, we see these women on social media who are especially like celebrities who after like 10 days of having a child, they're like bikini body ready. And you're just like, why don't I look like that? And it's just so, you know, you're just overwhelmed and, you know, it's a lot, especially when you have a new baby. But, you know, if you nourish your body properly, your body will go back to the way it was before. You know, you don't have to go on any crash diet or do anything crazy or, you know, anything that's gonna, you know, just stress your body out even more. If you just nourish your body properly with nutrient dense foods, you get that movement and your body will eventually go back to the way it was.
Pat yourself on the back, because while you're doing that, you're actually achieving the goal you had at that point in time, which is nursing that child, or if you're staying up at night, late night, tending to that child. The goal was still being met. All of our goals are not going to be of an aesthetic sense. As you said earlier, they're oftentimes going to be from a mind and soul position as well. So
that's so true. And the other thing is when you eat well and you practice all these things that we're preaching, you're showing up as your highest self to everyone, you know, to your family, to your kids. You're not just, you know, you're not just like, you know, like somebody who's on a processed food diet versus somebody who's on a nutrient dense diet is going to be very different, you know, in their mannerisms, the way they act, the way they speak, their temper, you know, so all these things make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think again here, the last moment here, goals that you have, understand what they are at that point in time. That way you can measure it out properly for that, as Malak said earlier, for that season. That way you're going to understand if you are hitting that goal. And if you are, you can definitely, rest assured that you're doing something proper and you're learning from, what you've been, collecting by way of data on yourself. But yeah, understanding the goal, that we can measure the successfulness of that goal. If I was trying to measure out a cup of water, I'd be wrong to get a ruler, wouldn't I? That's not how you measure a cup of water. If your goal is at that season to facilitate life and bring together a family, it's not going to be measured off of a centerfold ad. By no means. Exactly. You know what I mean? It's being measured off of the happiness of you mentally here, and those who you are entrusted in and taken care of. Malak, I had a good time talking with you here. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close off here, or what?
No, I think we covered it all. It was a really great conversation, and I look forward to doing more podcasts with you in the future, Ron.
Awesome. You guys, Fit Plug Radio, we're here for you all. We're just sharing what we've learned in our education by way of our study, our books, as well as our personal lives, opening up to you all to hopefully enrich your health and fitness nutrition career. We're out of here. Thanks again, Malak.
No problem.
Bye-bye.